Hey, Denise. So I figured I would just kind of give you a rundown of some of the things that we talk about during a presentation and kind of give you a better idea of where we see some of this going. Keep in mind that our vision is to supplement and to enhance the vision of others. I'll get back to that in a little bit. But currently, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make better career pathways for students. This lines up with the governor's Future Ready initiative. And here's a little bit of background. So if you look at the legislation, it basically says there's six things that you have to do in Iowa schools, somewhere 8 to 12, to help students make better decisions. So you have to create these goals. You have to research coursework to meet your goals. You have to take assessments to understand what you're good at. You have to research the careers. You have to engage in relevant activities, and you have to complete the required documents for those goals. So typically, schools are really good at 1 through 4. So most schools, I mean, this is what like Cooter, Naviance, Career Cruiser, I Have a Plan Iowa. Most of these are handled through a third party with maybe some school intervention. What we're trying to do is we're trying to beef up number 5, and in turn, that's going to beef up number 6. If you're going to go to college, you probably have already figured out what it takes to go to college. Or those are things that are typically supported very well in schools. What isn't supported well is if somebody doesn't know what they want to do, how can we get them to help to make a decision? I mean, they don't even know what decision they want to make. So getting them to make that decision is that's the uphill battle, and we want to help those students make better decisions. Here it just talks about how the districts are asked to do this, but there's really not a lot of support in terms of how to do it, or better yet, with the legislature cutting funding to I Have a Plan Iowa. Now it's on the district shoulders to do all 6 of those steps, rather than the state assisting with at least the first 4. Here's a visual of where we're at and where we'd like to be. Career exploration, although it's an important step, by itself does not necessarily help people make better decisions. I full-heartedly believe it's a component. I mean, if you don't have career exploration, the decisions you're going to make are even worse. But what if we were to pave a path? So essentially, students were able to explore, and maybe they decide, hey, I want to be an engineer. Okay, so what are some professional trainings that you're going to have to take as an engineer? One of them is, depending on what type of engineering you're going into, but if you're going to be in the field, you're probably going to need to take some OSHA training. You're probably going to need to take some blueprint training. And let's look at a different career. Maybe you want to be a nurse. So your professional trainings are probably going to be something like HIPAA, something like bloodborne pathogens. Let's say you want to get into finance. Okay, so your professional trainings are going to be finance exams. And it's not that you can take all of your professional trainings right here, but are there professional trainings that you can engage with to figure out if those are, if that's a path you want to go down? From those professional trainings, it leads into our pre-apprenticeship modules. This is where you're going to learn more about the career. So rather than just explore, you're going to learn something specific. If we're to look at meat cutting, so let's say you decide you want to be a butcher. So you've got your bloodborne pathogens, you've got your knife skills professional trainings. Your pre-apprenticeship modules are going to actually take you through, I mean, if this is online, there's going to likely be videos. There's going to likely be success stories or testimonials of people who have gone down that path. And it might even get into something more specific as you need to pass I don't know if there's like an efficiency test, which means that you are able to be in butchery, and you're not just cutting the big chunks of meat, like you're actually efficient at it. So I don't know enough about the industry, but that's just an example. Could that then lead into an apprenticeship? These could be informal, like internships. They could also be formal, like registered apprenticeships. From there, students are likely going to make great decisions. If they realize back here that butchery is not for them, don't go all the way down here. Come back, find something that is for you, and jump back on it. And engineering is another good example. if you get to an apprenticeship and realize, I thought engineers built stuff, and you realize that this engineer, let's say you're a civil engineer, all you're doing is CAD drawings online. Well, maybe you say, that's not quite what I want. I got to go back and find out what I want. So you can find those, what you desire out of your career earlier on. Here's some examples. So over here in the career exploration, we have the career clusters. From those career clusters, you can see that those lead into professional trainings. There's going to be more than one professional training for career clusters. So let's say you're going to go into health science. All right, so you're probably going to need to take bloodborne pathogens. You're probably going to need to take some HIPAA training. Whereas if you're going to go into manufacturing, you probably don't need those. But you will likely need OSHA, or you will need like a blueprint reading training. Some of these can go as far as things like professionalism, for instance. Okay, so if you want to get into manufacturing, you might not have to take professionalism. That might be something that, it's just kind of in the environment. But if you want to get into finance and you want to be a financial planner, you're probably going to need to take some sort of professionalism course for how to interact with a variety of customers. From those trainings, those lead into our pre-apprenticeship modules, and this is where you get some more specified trainings. So your culinary arts, for instance, this is where you could learn more about like some chemistry of flavor, or something that's very unique. Probably doesn't have much application outside of the culinary arts program. You can see that there's a lot of them here, and the reason is these are things that are specific. So kind of like a job shadow day would be in a pre-apprenticeship module. There are quality pre-apprenticeship programs that you can build around a module, and the requirements for those are available on the site. If we look right here, here's our quality pre-apprenticeship, the 7 requirements for a quality pre-apprenticeship program. Another thing we talk about are the registered apprenticeships. So there's 5 requirements for a registered apprenticeship, and there's a couple of ways to get around the 2,000 hours. So we've worked with Rock Valley. They get around the 2,000 hours by having their students work full-time during the summer. They're paid for that. During the school year, they work a couple hours a day, and they can, some of the coursework is hybrid, so they don't have to, they can learn through modules, not just by actually being on the manufacturing floor. That's pretty much what we talk about. Now I'll also show you what we actually have for, and as just an example account. So here's the system that we have. It's called our Student Personalized Learning System. This is where we're putting the content that we're building. So if I look at concrete, this is a module that we've built with the concrete industry to help them address a perceived and it is reality, that they have labor shortage. So it's getting their name out faster. It's trying to help people understand more about the concrete industry, and that it's not just people outside on the 110-degree days laying concrete. So we try to give them some background. We give them some different opportunities that you have. If we look over here, we can look into the technology in today's concrete. So here's different pieces of technology. Here's another type of technology, snow removal in concrete, wind turbines in concrete. So it is meant to be interactive in terms of learning. It's not just sitting there reading about something. They're actually exposed to the things, and by no means does this replace hands-on, but it gets their foot in the door to the concrete industry in terms of getting students interested in their industry. Whereas right now, you're probably not going to get, unless it's a family business or someone, you're probably not introduced to the concrete industry, if at all. It's likely after high school, after you've already kind of made that decision. Another one we're currently working on is the plumbing and heating. This one will be done in probably about 4 weeks. So if we look at here, it's not completely done yet, but again, It's meant to get you in to learn about the plumbing and heating industry. So there's videos, there's explanations. I try not to do too many sentences, especially back to back. There's testimonials. Here's kind of how to do 4 basic types of plumbing. Here's the pathway to become a plumber. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to remove barriers. Here's kind of a, I'm just going to drag and drop, but this is an example of how we get some interactivity. So essentially it's double checking what they've done on the previous slides or what they've learned. Oh, I didn't get any of them right. Well, I can retry it. So now I try it again. Again, another testimonial. How to do some basic HVAC. Pathway to become HVAC tech. Here's another game that we have. So we're trying to match different things. There we go. Those are going to match. So you can kind of see how this works. The goal is it's informative, it's getting their foot in the door. Some tools that they can, tools to know for HVAC techs, tools to know for plumbers. If they hover over it, they'll see an explanation of the tool and the name of it. So what we're trying to do is here we were working with PHCC, plumbing, heating, and cooling contractors. They wanted to get their name out sooner to more people. So this is the module that they're working on building. There's other instances where we're working more with districts to build these modules to fit their needs. Ultimately, though, we want it to fit the need of whoever's using it. Hopefully that gives you kind of a background. I don't want to go too much further. I've probably already talked here for about 15 minutes. So if you have questions, please do let me know. What we want to do is we want to help you succeed and do anything that we can.